Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to Last First Date Radio, featuring interviews with experts in dating, relating, and mating in midlife. And now, here's your host, Sandy Weiner.
Hello, everybody. This is Sandy Weiner, and I am the Chief Love Officer of LastFirstDate.com. I am the dating, love, relationship, and communications coach for women over 40 who want to attract and sustain a lasting, loving, healthy relationship. We have a fabulous show coming up for you today. I'm going to be speaking with author Yana Stajno. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. She wrote a book called Rules for Thursday Lovers, and it's about two middle-aged women who feel that romance is passing them by, and they decide to collaborate and timeshare a lover. Pretty interesting topic, so I can't wait to hear from her. As a dating coach, it is my mission to help women over 40 recognize the qualities of a good man and learn the skills that make love last. Most women who come to me for support are amazing mothers, and they're successful in the workforce, but they have challenges in attracting the right guys. So if that sounds like you, then this show is perfect for you. Also, this show actually is great for married people and people in long-term relationships, because I do have many listeners who really get a lot of great advice about how to keep their relationships alive. But if you are that woman who has struggled in relationships and you're over 40, then I have something just for you, and that is a guide that I've created to help you to undo the mistakes that you might have made or are making and don't even realize it, and you'll be able to turn those mistakes around and attract somebody wonderful into your life. And I would love for you to grab that free guide, the 3 mistakes that midlife daters make and how to turn them around to find lasting love. So if you'd like a free copy, all you have to do is go to lastfirstdate.com and sign up on my homepage, because I want you to go on your last first date. Today's show is sponsored by Audible.com. They are a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. You can listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you like. And if you sign up at audibletrial.com/lastfirstdate, that's audibletrial.com/lastfirstdate, you will get a free book and a 30-day free trial. Now I would like to introduce our special guest today. Born in Zimbabwe and educated in South Africa, Yana Stajno enjoyed an artistic and eclectic start to life. She graduated in English and drama at Cape Town University, and she was politically active. She joined the anti-apartheid movement, where she met her future husband in the middle of a riot. She now lives in London, where she practices as an acupuncturist, and she's an artist and a writer. She has written several plays and short stories, and this book that we're going to be talking about today is her first novel. So join me now as I interview Yana about her new book, Rules for Thursday Lovers, a story about midlife crisis and time-sharing a lover.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yana. I can,
Hello?
yes, perfect.
Oh,
Hi.
fantastic. I've given up Skype. I'm talking to you on the phone.
Okay, good.
Yes.
I'm glad we had an alternative.
Thank you for
here.
having me on the show. That's fantastic.
Oh, I'm so happy you're here, and I love hearing your accent. And did I pronounce your name correctly?
Is it really strong? Is it a strong English, strange accent?
Well, you're South
probably
African and English, right? You're a
yes,
mix.
yes. I'm a strange
Yes.
colonial mix.
Yes, it's a beautiful accent.
Thank you. Thankful so is yours.
Oh, thank you.
To me, it's very exotic.
Oh, well.
Yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's so funny how we all have different perspectives on how we all sound. And I think also people don't realize there's so many different regional accents across England, across Africa, and a lot of times foreigners just think of one accent for an entire region. And just like in America, we have our southern accents and we have our accents that sound a little French and different influences from different places, right?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely, the richness of all of it. Beautiful. Imagine if everyone spoke the same, like a sort of automaton. It would be awful.
That would be awful and really boring. And so I related to your story for a number of reasons, and I just want to say, but also to your life story, because I'm also an artist who has had several careers. Art was my first career. And so I painted just like you, and so I can totally relate to your artistic soul. And I love that you wrote a novel. So let's talk about this novel, since we're here to talk about it.
Okay.
So how did you think of this interesting idea about somebody time-sharing a lover? What made you come up with this idea?
I know. Well, I was talking to a very dear friend who was very, very down in the dumps. She was midlife, her husband wasn't noticing her anymore, her job wasn't going anywhere, but her kids were just about to leave, there was no romance, there was no joie de vivre. She had nothing to look forward to. So I do have a French mother, so this might explain my thought. And I thought, I said to her, look, why don't you just take a lover? And she said, oh, no, I'm too busy, I don't have time. I said, you don't have time? Well, timeshare one then. And as I was saying it, the hairs rose at the back of my neck, and I thought, oh, that's a good idea for a story. Now, I haven't seen her for a while, so I hope she hasn't taken my advice. I can't tell you that. But that would be her story if there was one. But this is my story, my fiction, my novel. Rules for Timeshare Lovers. So this is what I invented from the idea.
So you mentioned that your mother's French. Is that, and then you went right into, that's kind of sounded like, and that's why I suggested a lover. Is that a common thing for French?
It's the sort of thing I would think automatically. If life somehow, I must have got it from my mother. Is that you don't divorce somebody. You just try some spice, a little bit of spice. That's why I thought of it for her. Mm-hmm. So it came to my mind, and that's why I thought of it. I think in a very English context, it's probably a little outrageous, and probably in a U.S. context, it might be even more outrageous. But I'm justifying my idea with the idea that my mother was French.
Yeah, no, I hear that, and I don't think it's so outrageous. I mean, it certainly is not. It's not de rigueur, but I do think it's shocking enough and interesting and compelling enough to get people to read it. Because I do think people have midlife crises very often. And, I would say more than a crisis, I think many people today have a midlife awakening. They awaken to possibility. And I certainly went through that when I realized that I had to get a divorce to be able to live the life that I wanted to live, and there's so much possibility out there, and a lot of times we give all of that up to please other people, and so suddenly it becomes, now it's my time, and what do I have to look forward to, which is kind of what you were explaining a little bit here.
I think also that there's a gender or a gender difference slightly, is that I hope I'm not lambasted horribly for saying this, but I think men have very open midlife crises. They can have a drama, they can buy the new sports car, they can have the new whatever. And women, because in my view they run the world, they have to always be running things smoothly, and so for them they have the same concerns of, life is short, death is coming, romance is fading, things are aging, and that adolescent dream of excitement and difference and life being close and different. It's the same as a man's, but they don't do the crisis so well, and they don't do the drama so well. They don't take that space. They don't have the time. So this is my little hymn for two women who did do this. They had each other, so they took the space to have a midlife crisis in a rather spectacular style in the novel.
Mm. So you say they don't have the time. I think that they don't maybe make the time because they're so responsible for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they often do other things. They go to therapy, or they change. They do classes, or they change other things. But I think they often feel so responsible for running the world as it is, for remembering everybody's birthdays, for packing everything properly, for paying the bills. And I mean, that for them to have a huge interruption of all that is harder, in my view.
Yeah, and I think I have seen.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm going to just in my own experience with married friends who've been married for a couple of decades. A lot of them have said, "Well, I have fed into my husband's dreams for his whole life, and what happened to me?
Yeah.
What happened to mine?"
Yeah.
And so some people haven't even identified their dreams. I certainly hadn't identified mine, but I knew there was something. I knew that there was something in my future. I just didn't know yet. But I think you're right that men do. There's a lot more acceptance for a man to buy that red sports car with the convertible top and to go and have an affair or two, and a lot of people forgive that. Whereas for a woman, it's not as acceptable or as open. So you're putting it out there.
Yeah. I mean, I did too. When I started to paint, really, just in 2002, I started to paint because I was writing so many things, scripts of people asking for so many changes. Somebody gave me pencils. My very dear friend gave me pencils for Christmas, so I went to a life drawing class, and I just took off. Everything sold of mine after about 6 months, and I thought, well, this is easier than doing scripts where people ask for changes. Nobody's asking for, the leg to be in a different place or it all to go green or anything. This is great. And it's taking space. It's taking a new space. It's
That's
exploring something new.
I love that you started so later in life to do something, and I did the opposite. I painted my whole life and started writing in my 50s, and I actually felt the opposite. I felt that in my painting, people would say, because I painted furniture for people too, so I did a lot of work on commission. So I painted in sort of in the same way that you wrote, in that people were critiquing my painting, but I write for me. And so I almost never get feedback on my writing. Funny.
Yeah, funny. Yeah, and so I needed to go way a little bit from the writing, as I was writing plays and screenplays, paint, and then take space, say, with this novel, when nobody's asking for changes. I'm doing this novel this way, and it's wonderful. It's so liberating.
I love that.
Nobody's asking for the characters to be 5 years younger or both men. And the great thing about this novel is these two people couldn't be men. There is no way they could be cast in anything as men. It's wonderful.
So tell us a little bit about the story. I know, we know the basic outline of them going off and time sharing somebody, but can you tell us a little bit more about the story?
Well, it's about these two women in midlife, and they were school friends, and they haven't seen each other for 25 years, and they meet again on a barge on the Thames, and a timeshare evening. And they're sort of reminded, because they haven't seen each other for so long, they're thrown back a little bit into the memory of their adolescence. And so as they get a little drunk and as they meet another time, and they kind of fall for each other again in a way. They decide they want to share an adventure, and time-sharing property is boring, and time-sharing a man, now that's what they should do. One of them thinks of this a bit more than the other and guides the other one into it, tricks them, so then they have to really work out where will they find this man that they can share. So they do they don't do the internet, they do adverts, and then they decide they have to interview these very men, and they decide the best possible place to interview men is the zoo, London Zoo, because, well, one of them says, you have to be solvent to get into it. It's rather expensive, and each enclosure, is a defined space, so we can do one every half hour in a different spot, and that is where they decide on the man. And so I have lots of lovely research missions to the zoo, which was heaven. And then they use a penthouse flat that overlooks, there's a lot of zoo in it, to look out over the zoo. And this is owned by one of the characters' husband's friend. And, of course, he gets to know what's happening. Other people get to know what happens. There's a pickpocket at the zoo who gets embroiled in the whole story. And so there's even, as each of them are becoming more and more impassioned, because I'm always very interested in what happens when people take on a bit too much. They take on love and they can't handle it, or any of the big things of life, people take them on without quite knowing, what they're letting themselves in for. So I love the idea that passions start to consume people. And so one of the characters, the caring one, is a carer in an old age home, and because she's very distracted, she manages to lose a whole lot of old people in Baden-Baden, which is a spa in Germany. And an old man also goes missing altogether with his violin and a pair of slippers, and he becomes a big success. So although they're distracted by passions, their passions are infecting various other characters that I've invited into the novel to have changes happen to them too. And I'm enormously fond of all the characters in the novel, so I like all of them to have, had something resolved or transformed or changed through the course of passion. That's probably what I'm saying.
I love that.
Is that enough of a taster? Yes,
I think so. Perfect, yeah, it's totally intriguing.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, I love all of them, and I feel very sad to leave them. You leave them at the end, and they're all there, and it feels sad to leave them there because they're so full of life.
Yeah, I know. I hear that. You're so impassioned about your characters, and the richness of. I love the old age home and the characters that get lost. It's just so full of intrigue and mystery, and also just like magic. There's like that feeling of little magical things that happen. I love that.
And lots of magic. Yeah. And one of the characters, one of the women makes is outrageous hats, which become more and more outrageous as she goes along. And I love her hats. So she has a hat for sort of stranger and stranger occasions, even a traffic jam hat and an angry hat.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, you know what? There are people I'm attracted to are people who have passion, who really have gone after the things that inspire them and make them happy. And unfortunately, we don't have enough of those people out there. But when you find one who's really tapped in, there's something so infectious about that. And it sounds like you've captured that in this book.
Oh, I hope so. Sandy, I really hope so. It'd be nice that it infected people with passion as well. The book did. Wouldn't that be nice?
It would.
The people who read it.
Yeah.
We might have to have a health warning on the book. That'd be fun.
Right. What would you say? What would your warning say?
Yes, in danger of infecting you with passion. Treat carefully.
I think that's a great idea, actually. Hurry up and put it on. So let's talk about the actuality of time-sharing a lover. And what, do you think that would be a good idea in real life?
Well, I'm not personally, because it didn't feel for me. But I think there are certain circumstances that it could be a good idea. Well, it's certainly a wonderful idea for comedy, and it's a wonderful idea for novel. But if somebody is, you'd have to consider doing it with a very, very good friend, and then I think you would have to have a lot of very unbreakable rules in place. For instance, in all circumstances, it must be fun. That's the first rule of my novel, anyway. Anything different to that, stop. And I think it could bring joy and excitement to women who are too busy and overcommitted to try dating a man on their own. I thought, because I think dating is so tricky and precipitous that it might be nice to share that with a friend in an equal and rule-driven way. It might be an interesting, somebody could run an agency in just that. because you'd always have somebody to talk to about it, wouldn't you, who shared the same dreams, disappointments, excitement. It could work. I personally wouldn't run the dating agency that did this or do it, but I can see it working. I think if anyone is thinking of doing this, I'd love to hear from them, but could they please read the novel first just to see all the things that could go wrong? If there's anyone out there.
I can't picture it at all. I have to say that...
You can't?
No, and I'll tell you why. I think that in my experience and the experience of the clients that I work with, that as casual as you would like to be with a man, once you slept with somebody, it's really hard to not be attached. There are hormones that get released. We can't really help ourselves unless we're really not attracted, and then how long could it last? I mean, so if you're starting to release bonding hormones and you are forming some attachment, I mean, I have had clients who say, I am totally not into this person. He's attractive, but I'm fine with casual sex. And then the next day, when he doesn't call back, she says, what happened? What did I say wrong? What did I do wrong? He didn't like my body? And then they're devastated. So, and it's happened after a few dates.
You're right, yes. Yes, I think that probably is right in 99.9% of all cases. I agree with you, really. But and I'm a little bit in love with the idea because I just love working with it. It's pretty tricky, but it heals.
I think it's a fun
drama.
It's a fun drama. It's a great thing to picture. I just think in reality, I think if you had started out with a good friend, you'd probably kill her by the end.
You would.
You could probably lose a friendship in the process, and it's and I do think though that sharing dating with others is important. And I used to have a partner who I used to walk with that we both got divorced around the same time, and we used to share our dating experiences on our walks together.
I think that's great.
Yeah, and I encourage all people to do that. I have a group of women who meet virtually every month, and we have a Facebook group that's private and secret. And it's just for that. It's like, hey, this happened to me. Oh, my God, it happened to me, too. And here's, and I'm going to support you here. And so it's not something you do alone or with shame. And and if you want, and then people who do have affairs, and I know people who have, they also have shared their experiences with me and and talked it out so that, you just have a place to feel accepted or work things through, because it's hard to do on your own.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's terrific that there's a place, on your website or whatever, that people can have a collective of a collection of experiences and inform each other. I once had a very long answer machine message from somebody who was dating for the first time for a very long time, and she put her back out while in the sex, and there was this long. I got it 2 days later. It was too late, but she basically, what should I do now? I'm stuck. I can't move. Can you come? Can you call? So it was a pity that I was the only person she could call, and it was a hilarious answer machine message for later. But at the time, it was terrible. I have given it to her. I mean, she has a memory of this particularly disastrous date where she put her back out. And the man was not very helpful.
Well, that's obvious because she had to turn to you.
Yes, exactly.
Which is great information. Right. Dump the dude and go to your girlfriends. But and a lot of people don't feel comfortable talking to anybody. And I have seen this even with my clients. Something happens and they hold it inside and they beat themselves up and they say, why did I do that? Instead of reaching out. And so sometimes I will challenge them and I'll say, your responsibility right now, this week, your homework is to go and contact 2 friends and set up time to talk to them and just tell them you want them to listen and not judge you. And if you don't have friendships like that, then you got to go find them and create them, because we all need friends that we could just be ourselves and not be judged.
Yeah, that's right. And that's one of the reasons I also wanted to write this book. I they asked me why this book, and I said I want that if somebody does something so outlandish as to attempt this, and you know them and you love them, just don't judge them. Just don't judge them, at least until you can hear their heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's and all the characters in this do this outlandish, but they're all attempting something, they're all seeking something, all searching, and we have to respect that and admire it, really, because a lot of people don't. They don't try, they don't attempt, they don't even ever risk failing.
Yep, and then they stay really safe and boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they think they have control over their lives, but they don't really. But we won't tell them. We've been watching a show called Doc Martin. Have you ever watched that?
No, but it sounds good.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Got it here. I think, yeah.
It's a British show. I think it was originally on, could have been BBC. I don't remember where it originated from. Could be Masterpiece Theatre, but it's on Netflix now and Amazon Prime, and it's very much like the characters you're describing. The people live in a place called Port Wen in England, and it's this hokey town, and everybody is crazier than the next person, but they're all endearing and charming, and I love it. I mean, it's just you think there's lead in the water or something because people can't be this crazy, but they are. But there is something really lovely. Like the guy is a doctor, and he comes to this town, and he has kind of an Asperger's type of personality, and it just tells it like it is. And the doctor they had before wasn't very competent, but he invited people in for tea, and so they all think they're going to just come and talk to him, and he's like, "You have a real medical problem, otherwise get out." And so, but it's just charming. Anyway, we're getting off topic, but so let's talk about.
I'll look out for it. I'll watch it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. So we only have a few minutes left.
We watched Breaking Bad. I love all the all that
fabulous
stuff. It's fantastic, it's wonderful.
Yeah, that's a great show.
Oh. And Curb Your Enthusiasm is my favorite. I love that.
Which one?
Larry David. Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Crazy sense of humor. So to just close with the last few minutes. What would you like to leave? What kind of message would you like our audience to take away, besides the fact that they shouldn't judge? If anybody does anything outlandish, they should just be curious and be open. What else would you like to leave our audience with?
Well, I would like people to let a little passion into their lives, to try things, to never be frightened of failing, to let that absurd thought take root, but the most important thing of all is to share it with a friend. Because no good doing something absurd all by yourself. You need an audience, a friend, a mate, a somebody. So some version of time sharing or some version of sharing your passion is something I would advocate, but possibly not in this particular way of the novel, but in any other way, in any way. Just let, life is sweet but very short, and so if it isn't working, try something different slightly, or change it, or take another brush and use another color. Just that.
I love it. Good message to take away. Take another brush and use another color. I can totally relate to that metaphor. And so people can find you on, you have a new website, I saw, so can you just give out your website?
I have www.yana-words.com.
Excellent.
You can find me there. The book is coming out on the 16th of July, and it's pre-orderable now. It's Rules for Thursday Lovers, and you can get it on Amazon or order it from a bookshop or anything really, or it's there. I tried myself. It was so exciting.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much, Yana, for coming on the show, and good luck with the book. And thank you for inspiring us to try something new.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody,
Bye.
have a great day, everybody, and thanks for listening in today, and hope you go on your last first date very soon. Bye-bye.